And, right now he is the number one. He's the man to beat.
I would love to play against Rory. We could use a driver like they do now that hits the ball 50 yards further.
He was surgical. That's what Jack Nicklaus said about Rory McIlroy during his peak years. But before the world saw that brilliance, they watched him crumble. The 2011 Masters collapse was brutal, a final round 80 after holding the 54-hole lead. Critics wondered if the young Northern Irishman had the mental strength to win at the highest level. They were about to get their answer in the most emphatic way possible. 2 months later at Congressional Country Club, McIlroy didn't just bounce back. He delivered one of the most dominant performances in major championship history. He shot 65-66 in the first 2 rounds to build a 6-stroke lead, then never looked back. His final score of 16 under par 268 won by 8 strokes and set or tied 12 different U.S. Open records. This wasn't recovery. This was a statement. The 22-year-old led the field by hitting 62 of 72 greens in regulation, an 86% clip that left competitors shaking their heads. But what stood out even more was the atmosphere. 30,000 American fans chanted his name like he was one of their own, serenading him with "Let's go, Rory," chants that echoed through the Maryland hills. This was more than a victory. It was a coronation. The 2012 PGA Championship at Kiowa Island erased any doubt that Congressional was a fluke. On another brutal, windswept venue, McIlroy shot a final round 66 to win by 8 strokes again. At 23 years old, he was a 2-time major champion whose A-game seemed completely inaccessible to his peers. His combination of power and precision on demanding courses was unlike anything the sport had seen since Tiger Woods in his prime. Then came the summer of 2014, the peak of his dominance. At Royal Liverpool, McIlroy went wire to wire to claim the Open Championship. He led the field in driving distance while simultaneously hitting nearly 2/3 of his fairways, a combination that shouldn't exist. Power players are supposed to spray it everywhere. Accuracy players are supposed to sacrifice distance. Rory did both at an elite level, dismantling the links course with a blend that defied conventional wisdom. Weeks later at Valhalla, he captured his second PGA Championship in dramatic fashion. As darkness descended on the Kentucky course, McIlroy battled Phil Mickelson and Ricky Fowler in a final round that had him racing the clock. When he hoisted the Wanamaker Trophy in the twilight, the 25-year-old had cemented a run of dominance that invited direct comparisons to the early careers of Woods and Nicklaus. He had joined them as the only players to win 3 legs of the career Grand Slam before age 26. 4 majors in 4 years. The golf world hadn't seen anything like it since Tiger's peak. If you're enjoying this deep dive into Rory's prime, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our breakdowns of golf's greatest moments. The praise from golf's legends wasn't just complimentary, it was an anointing. Jack Nicklaus, the 18-time major champion and the sport's ultimate standard-bearer, saw something generational in McIlroy. He called Rory arguably one of the most naturally talented players in golf, and as talented a player as there is out there. Before the 2014 PGA Championship, Nicklaus went even further, predicting McIlroy could win 15 or 20 majors or whatever he wants to do. This wasn't casual praise. This was Nicklaus, the greatest strategist the game has known, saying that McIlroy's physical gifts were so profound they sometimes overrode the necessity of strategic constraint. But Nicklaus also issued a warning. He noted that Rory's immense talent was at times a double-edged sword, and that he lacked the patience and discipline that defined Nicklaus's own career. It was a revealing comment about a player whose ceiling was so high that minor flaws became magnified. Tiger Woods, still a force in 2013 with 5 wins that year, publicly acknowledged the shift in hierarchy. In 2012, Woods offered an assessment that stunned the golf world. He called Rory a nice kid and an amazing talent. "You watch him swing, watch him putt and play," Woods said. "He doesn't have many weaknesses." Then came the moment that defined the era. Woods added that this is the next generation of guys, and that the game of golf is in great hands with Rory because he's here to stay. For Woods, a competitor who rarely cedes psychological ground, this was monumental. His admiration was specific and often focused on McIlroy's driving. Woods, himself a dominant power athlete, was reportedly heard telling others that McIlroy is the best driver he's ever seen. Golf Channel footage caught Woods on the range, studying McIlroy's swing with the kind of focus he usually reserved for his own mechanics. When Tiger Woods stops to watch you hit balls, you know you're doing something special. Gary Player, the 9-time major winner and fitness pioneer, viewed McIlroy as the ultimate synthesis of talent and athleticism. Player lauded Rory's transformation and commitment to fitness, which he saw as essential to handling major championship pressure. But Player's praise for the swing itself was absolute. He called it the best swing in the professional game today and a model for all young aspiring professionals to follow. In a candid discussion, Player ranked the best swing in today's game as Rory McIlroy, with Adam Scott second. This praise from the big three was revealing. Each icon saw a piece piece of their own genius reflected in McIlroy. Nicklaus saw the generational talent. Woods saw the dominant athletic power. Player saw the modern athletic swing. Together, their anointing confirmed that McIlroy's prime wasn't built on a single flashy skill, but on a complete package of greatness. His peers saw something different. They saw a terrifying benchmark that forced them to change their entire approach to the game. Justin Rose, a U.S. Open champion known for precision iron play, provides the perfect example. Rose embarked on a dedicated regimen with coach Sean Foley, committed to the gym, and switched equipment specifically to gain extra firepower. The reason was explicit. He needed it to keep up with bombers like McIlroy. Rose, who had increased his own driving distance considerably, recalled playing with McIlroy and being stunned by the gap. Even at the Tour Championship, Rose was hitting it past him, which McIlroy noted hadn't really happened that much before. Rose, trailing by 20 to 25 yards, was chasing the modern blueprint of power and control that McIlroy had established. The message was clear. If you wanted to compete, you had to find distance somewhere. Brooks Koepka, before becoming a major winning machine himself, saw McIlroy as the standard for consistency. As Koepka ascended, he admitted viewing McIlroy as his primary target, a mental benchmark for greatness. "I feel like maybe there's a competition," Koepka said. "Like I've got to get one more major championship than him. It's like a one-up thing." This one-up mentality, which defines Koepka's alpha persona, was built in direct response to McIlroy's dominance. Even at his most confident, Koepka admitted that McIlroy at full confidence is almost untouchable. The most fascinating rivalry was with Jordan Spieth. They were oil and vinegar, two completely opposed philosophies for winning at golf. Spieth was the card counter, a methodical player who won with consistency and a divine short game. McIlroy was all-out aggressiveness, an explosive athlete who won with raw ability and power. An anecdote from the 2014 PGA Championship captured this perfectly. Paired together, Spieth and playing partner Zach Johnson hit their drives with a conventional thwack sound. McIlroy's drive was a mind-mystifying explosion that traveled 359 yards, landing 55 yards past his playing partners. This wasn't just two different players, it was two different sports being played on the same course. Dustin Johnson, the other premier power player of the era, offers crucial perspective. Analysts constantly compared their swings, noting that while both achieved massive distance, they did so differently. Johnson's swing is famously unusual with a bowed left wrist at the top. McIlroy's was envied for its technical perfection. It was described as the best sequence in golf, possessing great rhythm and effortless power that other pros, even Johnson, could only admire. The consensus was clear. Johnson used unique levers to create speed. McIlroy simply unleashed it. The criticism of McIlroy's career carries a unique irony. The only real critique is that he hasn't been more dominant. The flaws identified by analysts are visible only because the genius is so profound. His biggest rival has always been the impossible expectation he set for himself during those peak years. The most persistent technical critique focused on wedge play. Sir Nick Faldo, who admired Rory's pure swing, delivered the most scathing summary of this frustration. "He's one of the greatest drivers of the golf ball," Faldo said, "and then he stands up with a wedge and we all cringe." This highlighted the maddening gap between his generational talent off the tee and his often average performance with scoring clubs. While McIlroy ranked 8th in strokes gained approach in 2023, he slid to 119th in 2024, a volatility that has defined his post-prime career. Beyond technique, the primary critique has been psychological. Analysts like Johnny Miller pointed to a focus drift after his early success. Faldo, after McIlroy's 2023 Masters disappointment, noted that he seemed to have lost trust in his swing. Nicklaus himself identified the challenge as psychological, suggesting that Rory's deep thinking sometimes gets in his own way. The math surrounding his major drought is mystifying. A player who wins 12% of his non-major PGA Tour starts has only a 1% chance of failing to win a major in 36 consecutive attempts. The conclusion drawn by analysts is that McIlroy is a deep thinker who psychs himself out, a stark contrast to the freewheeling aggression of his youth. His pursuit of the career Grand Slam at the Masters, an event he wants so desperately, seems to be the primary example of this mental burden. This leads to the ultimate question: is Rory McIlroy an underachiever? The answer from those who know the game best is emphatic: no way. A career with 4 majors, 23 PGA Tour wins, and 3 FedEx Cup titles constitutes World Golf Hall of Fame credentials of the highest order. The very fact that the question is asked proves the greatness of his prime. The underachiever label exists only because Nicklaus predicted 15 or 20 majors. This criticism is actually a comparison to a standard that only Tiger Woods has met. There's another dimension to this. Unlike the guarded and defensive Woods, McIlroy opened up, took on tour leadership, and cares more about his humanity than his golfing profile. The very distractions and focus drift analysts cite are products of the charisma and authenticity that make him a beloved global figure. His burden of genius is tied to his willingness to be human. What made his prime truly special wasn't just the statistics, it was the aesthetics. In an era of increasing data analysis and biomechanical overcoaching, McIlroy's swing was a throwback. It was lauded for its natural rhythm and gorgeous flow. When playing with the complete freedom of his prime, his game became a masterclass in creativity and shot making. This artistic quality is why Gary Player called his swing a model, and why fellow pros would stop to watch him on the range. He proved that pure natural talent could still dominate in a data-driven world. This artistry was delivered through his signature weapon, the driver. Early in his career, he earned the nickname BMW because he drives so well. This wasn't just a physical gift, it was strategic. He used the driver to bring golf courses to their knees, fundamentally changing their geometry. His performance at the 2014 Open showcased his unmatched combination of accuracy and aggression. Leading in distance while hitting 2/3 of fairways meant he was playing a shorter, easier golf course than everyone else. When he flew his drive 55 yards past Spieth at Valhalla, it wasn't showing off. It was systematic dismantling. This weapon earned the ultimate validation from Tiger Woods, who called McIlroy the best driver he's ever seen. Coming from a player who revolutionized power golf, this was the highest possible praise. The fearless aggression combined with matinee idol looks and attitude translated into rare global charisma. He was honest, vulnerable, and a genuinely good dude, qualities that made him an authentic fan favorite. He was the total package, a player with the dominance of a modern athlete and the artistic flair of a past master. McIlroy's prime did more than win trophies. It inspired a generation and reignited the passion of European golf. His cultural impact is defined by one comparison above all others: Seve Ballesteros. While European golf produced brilliant technicians like Nick Faldo and Bernard Langer, analysts noted that only Seve and Rory possessed the magic dust. Colin Montgomery, a fierce defender of European golf, declared that McIlroy is the most talented player to emerge since Seve Ballesteros. This comparison isn't just about talent. It's about style, charisma, and continental importance. Their thrilling long game, their magical short game, and the passionate, aggressive flair with which they played. McIlroy, like Seve, became an icon who dominated European golf. This connection is deeply meaningful to McIlroy, who became emotional after winning his 6th race to Dubai Crown, an achievement that moved him alongside his hero. He didn't just win for himself, he reignited the romance of European golf, a role Seve invented. As the new leader of European golf, McIlroy's influence became direct. He anchored Ryder Cup teams and provided the benchmark for the next wave of talent. Players like Victor Hovland and Matt Fitzpatrick, who grew up watching his prime, modeled their games on his template of power and precision. His legacy is visible in the swings and strategies of today's top players, who were forced to build games that could one day compete with his. This prime is seen by legends not as a finale, but as a foundation. Jack Nicklaus has stated he firmly believes Rory will win the Masters and that he's got a lot more majors in him. The completion of the career Grand Slam is viewed as the fulfillment of a second act, a destiny set in motion by the brilliance of his prime. The consensus on Rory McIlroy's prime years is absolute. Between 2011 and 2014, he showcased a level of purest modern talent that led the game's greatest icons to anoint him as the next generational standard bearer. His game was a masterclass in creativity, built on a fearless command of the driver that even Tiger Woods considered the best he had ever seen. Thank you for watching this breakdown of Rory's incredible prime years. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which golfer's peak you want us to cover next. This period of dominance, defined by record-breaking 8-stroke victories, created a central conflict that defines his legacy. The debate between unfulfilled potential and generational artist isn't a contradiction. It's the very proof of his greatness. The reason his potential feels unfulfilled is precisely because he is a generational artist. The standard he set was simply that high. The opinions of his rivals and icons like Jack Nicklaus remain unchanged. He is too good not to win more. But regardless of future victories, one lasting truth unifies all opinions. When Rory McIlroy is in full flight, playing with the freedom, artistry, and aggressive power of his prime, the entire golf world stops to watch. From legends to rivals, from fans to fellow competitors, everyone recognizes they're witnessing something rare. That 4-year window from 2011 to 2014 wasn't just dominant golf, it was art in motion, a perfect synthesis of power and grace that may never be replicated. And that's what makes prime Rory McIlroy unforgettable.